I in no way, shape, or form. I in no way, shape, or form. Hello. I'm moving up and down, side to side, like a roller coaster. Is that better? Is that better? Cool, cool. Cool, cool. What is the time now? Just so I know how long I got. What is the time now? Just so I know how long I got. What is the time now? Just so I know how long I got.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going into Saudi Arabia here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Big qualifying ahead of us. This is going to be very important for the race.
Yeah, very important. It's already 15 seconds away before we truly get this underway. As I said, there's a one-shot qualifying. All of these drivers will be on circuit at the exact same time, ghosting over each other. This is going to be fun.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very fast track here.
Have I
so
still got like 5
I'm really
minutes?
excited to see as we're heading into our qualifying laps. It's a long, not really a long straight. It's a short straight down the pit into turn 1. Very harsh braking zone. Very slow corners. You can expect a lot of overtaking here in the race, but then it's quick, right on the power, off into the next chicane.
Yeah, driving already, deploying that ERS as you see as we are riding on board with Josh. Now into the tight left kink that winds back round. You got to use a bit more ERS again. You constantly need to use it across this circuit, and the track keeps on winding through these medium speed corners. You do have to let off the throttle, and if you're cautious enough, sometimes you don't even have to brake as we go towards this first swinging corner.
Not happy.
Yeah, fast still, even in these what should be slower sections. We're still in fourth gear, and then immediately straight out, really close to the wall, getting tantalizingly, like nearly clipping it almost, and then straight back into the straight. It's very quick.
Yeah, we do see Base Esports dropping out, potentially retiring from the session, potentially crashing out. But Josh still in P3 at the moment. Alex and Daniel Hope in front of him, trying to race him down as we only have the final back straights left for this circuit to turn on through, as it's only the final corner left for them to nail.
DRS on max speed here, hard braking, nearly locks up in the final corner there, and then straight back on DRS activated, straight to the line, and we're looking at a 1:27.5 for Daniel Hope.
Yeah, Daniel Hope with an amazing qualifying 1:26.6, by far out in front as the final people coming on through, with Lachlan down in 16th position, and a disqualification from him and one of the driver will mean they will start at the back of the grid. But on pole, it's Daniel Hope with AZR and his 1:26.6, as we will quickly run it back over with the host.
What a qualifying that was. Great to see Daniel up in first. Okay, 1:26. Amazing race from them. Great to see that there was only 1 or 2 little mishaps in that qualifying. Okay, so we're going to try again. We're going to go back to the race. Okay, that will start very shortly. Okay, is everyone ready for the first race?
as we are waiting on the players again here for the Student Racing League. Qualifying has just finished up and wrapped up at the first race here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Is going to be 25%. It's going to be 13 laps here of absolute epic proportions.
Indeed, that was a very, very exciting qualifying. You know, the pace everyone was going at. And I want to point out the lead in front, 8/10 between P1 and P2. What does that mean for this race?
Sadly, that means Daniel Hope potentially is going to run away with this race in that purple liveried machinery as 5 red lights disappear into the night skies, and we get away with the first lap already, side by side for the second row of the grid, but the braking is much better from Esports 3, already trying to get side by side with Alex for P3 is back behind. You got multiple other people trying to scatter themselves as we now head towards turn number 3. You do see Esports C dropping back behind Alex as Daniel Hope already pulling that slight little bit of a lead, and a couple of positions gained further on down as well. But right now, Esports 3 trying to get a bit of a grip as we do see a little bit of action from that turn 1 moment as we do have a bit of a fade out.
Wow. 10 corners down, or not, maybe not even 10. I lost track of how exciting that first stint was.
Yeah, as we see, only a couple of corners that we ended up running through there initially, and we ended up seeing quite a few drivers side by side through those first few corners. And as I said, Alex was able to get away decently clean, but did get troubled by Esports 3 going through those first few corners, but ended up making it difficult for him down into that turn 3, but he did end up getting back on past Esports 3, but Daniel Hope clean into the lead off of pole position, hit the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We are sorry about the technical difficulties here at the Student Racing League first round, brought to you by the British Esports Federation and the College of Esports. As we can quickly see a bit of a drone shot of the facilities that we are commentating from, though it would be great to get back when we can, and we'll be with you as shortly as we can. But what did you think of that qualifying and race so far?
Well, qualifying we've already touched on a bit. 8/10 the gap between P1 and P2. I think that's going to be very.
Mate, this ain't never going to get going, is it?
Crucial in the race. But in the race in general, we've got P1 was Daniel Hope. I think.
Wait, so what you're saying is because they got to restart, they got to do quality
getaway
again.
From the lights is really what enabled them to stay in P1.
Yeah, as it does seem like we will have a full lobby restart, which means a full reorganizations of the grid. Yet to confirm if the one shot will go ahead again, but they probably will just use that same order, which will leave Daniel Hope back on the front rows of the grid. But for the drivers behind, gives them a second shot at this start and gives them a chance to potentially overtake Daniel Hope. But with his pace, even if he does, it's still potentially going to be on his favor. But as you said, looking a little bit lower down on that grid, we did see a decent closeness between positions number 2 all the way down to roughly P13, spread by about 0.3 of a second, all setting in the times, and then we did see a bit more of a drop-off after that.
Yeah, lots of side-by-side in the first couple turns, but no real overtaking just yet, and I think that's really telling how the rest of this race is going to go. We might see some
no
side-by-side,
overtaking. Wait till you get to Brazil,
relatively speaking, until we get to the pit stops and you can start getting pit strategy into the mix. We're going to see roughly the same order throughout.
Yeah, as I said, just going to quickly run over some other things about this circuit once again. We are here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit for the first race here at the Williams Student Racing League. It's going to be a roughly one-stop race for all of the entertainment this afternoon, as we are on 25% races. It does make it kind of difficult to cut through traffic, especially at Jeddah and Zandvoort. Currently just waiting on a lobby restart due to some technical difficulties out there for a few of the drivers, but we hope to get this back to you as shortly as we can. But as I said, the next races after this one, Brazil, Spa, and Zandvoort. What do you think about the next few races as well?
Well, all eyes to me are on Brazil.
You just said all eyes are on Brazil.
Very fun track, very short laps. We're going to see a lot of.
So you've got the sound settings in the bottom corner.
Short timings, and that
Is
goes straight
the
on the pits into turn
actual,
1
like,
is going to be
display
exhilarating to see.
sound being captured in the background?
As we will
are
be
you
taking a
using that thing
little
you
bit of
told
a
me about
longer break,
yesterday?
as we have been informed
it
that the
only-
difficulties might be a little bit extended. So we will be back with you guys for the Williams Student Racing
Christ.
League. Once the technical difficulties have been fixed, then we will see you as quickly as possible.
Have you got it set on any? Or have you got it set on just one? Be right back. Radio check. Great. The pigeon has flown through the window. Okay, Fernando is faster than you. Please confirm. That's interesting. So, do I actually need to join this Discord yet? Okay.
The Navy introduced me to lots of things. But the best thing was this lot. I feel at home with them, even when we're out at sea. We're not just mates. We're shipmates. I was born in Basildon, but I was made in the Royal Navy.
Welcome back to Jeddah, everyone, and it's way right into the action here. Down to turn one, already collisions at the back of the pack. Maybe a DNF, I'm not certain, but side by side here through the rest of the grid, and it's your yellow flag.
Out in Sector 1, as you said, you already got a penalty on Steam Grin as well, with Luna Esports 4 having huge difficulties and multiple wings being broken at the front. But Daniel Hope clear out in front yet again, with Alex just behind. 1 second already out of DRS is Alex Hope. That DRS will be activating and going on to lap number 2, as Josh is right behind him, 3 tenths behind. But we currently run on board with Esports 3, who has had a much worse start on this restart after this session went down, as Racing Rig 1 has got back past him, as we see a couple people further below with Chicken Nugget getting through, but now racing alongside Bark Redders trying to get back past, as we see a DNF from Luna.
Oh, a lot more action at the start here, and we're getting a run in on board as Josh steams past Alex right into that chicane, and he's away. The ERS deployment there, crucial in that overtake.
Yeah, he just gets a huge run going towards that corner. ERS deploying already in the defense as Alex is behind. Not with DRS assistance at the moment, just Slipstream unable to get back and coast back up into him, as further below Chicken Nugget continuing to drop down that order, as we see Esports 4, Lachlan and XD struggling at the back. But Daniel Hope is your current leader on those medium tyres, but it would be interesting to see just how many people are alternating off of that strategy.
It's a lot of mediums, but I do see a couple soft compounds in there. Do you think that's going to make any sort of difference in here?
But I'll firstly just say
yeah, a couple of people on the source. It's going to be really hard to make those tyres last until the end, but they're going to be really, really racy at the moment. But Esports 3 struggling already on those tyres, slipping a lot through these high speed. That's going to increase the temperature drastically on those tyres for the remaining of this stint, which is allowing F-Zone already to start clawing into that gap.
It's quite important that you've done so.
Yeah, as we see
Also,
a
if
time
you can
penalty
appear
come
online
through for GCS
when,
RS1.
you know, when
Multiple
whilst we're looking for
infringements there.
your name on the
Maybe
friends
do
list,
they,
it
I
saves
think
a
they need
lot
to
of
be
time.
a
For
bit
those
more
of you that raced
careful
last year,
with
you'll
their
definitely
limits
know
going
how much time that
progressing
saves
through
when
this
we're getting
race.
all the levels
Yeah, track limit
sorted.
violations already racking up for
In
multiple
the
drivers on the
meantime,
grid
I will run
already.
you through
And you
the
see
drivers
Owls
briefing,
and
just while we have time,
Steam
while this
Grim
race
being
is
some
going
of
on.
the drivers with
But
those
so
penalties, but
firstly,
quite
I
a
would
few
like
wide
to
lines
thank
here
you all,
as drivers are
students
struggling, and the
drivers
race
alike,
strategy is
for,
saying
you know,
that
making such
soft will
heats,
work,
you know, spending
but
time
I
out of your
genuinely
day in
do
order to
believe that the
race with
mediums
us.
at the hard, it's just a
Also,
more
fully respect
consistent
that,
strategy
you know,
here,
today's session has
especially
been
with the
delayed.
higher
Apologies
tyre
about
deg on
that,
the
but
25%,
hopefully
as we
we
see a
can make it
collision
as smooth as
behind
possible,
Chicken Nugget, and
everything
Ramos
going
end
on.
up colliding,
So
but Steam
as we said
VR
before, if you
gets a
need to
huge
communicate with
benefit,
myself
and
or Will
Ramos
during
is
the drivers
into the
briefing,
wall and
or,
finds a disaster of
or
a
just when we're
moment
setting up the lobby,
as he gets
please
completely
contact
collided
us via
into
VC chat.
in
That's how
the
you just
middle
click this
of
speech
sector
bubble,
number
to
2
the
into
top
sector
right,
number
and that is the
3,
best way
as
to
we now
communicate with
are on
us.
board with Steam VR Gur,
And just be ready to accept game
Ramos
invites
behind
when
him
we
as he's
tell
trying
you
to make
do
a move
so.
forward onto Chicken Nugget.
quicker we get
Another
everybody in, the
driver
quicker
wrapped
we
up
can
in
get
that
started.
collision. DRS is wide
I'll go
open
over the
now.
general racing
Turn
rules
number
just very
1 is in
quickly.
this on the outside line,
So
but he's
as you all know,
clean
though,
on
always
by.
drive within
As you
track
see the
limits,
damage on Chicken
because
Nugget has
in-game
clearly
penalties
already
will
hammered
not
his
be removed.
performance.
So, for instance, if you get a
Yeah,
3-second
bit-
penalty
bit-
for
maybe
whatever
a bit
reason,
of corner
we
cutting
will
there,
not
but
remove that
doesn't seem
3-second
to have been
penalty
picked
once
up by
it's
the
already put
game as
into
we're
the
continuing
EA
through
F1
this lap. They're still
if you leave the
very
track
close
for any
together.
reason,
Maybe another
please
overtake
rejoin
into turn
safely,
13.
without
Who knows,
hindering
but
another driver.
they're staying
So
on the
essentially,
power,
when you
and
rejoin
now
the
we're
circuit,
getting to
just
see a
make sure
bit
that the
more of a
driver
gap
behind you
form
doesn't
as the
have to
dirty
change
air
the
takes
line or
place.
Yeah, now it's Racing Rig 1 on the back of Esports 3. He's got past F Zone already, and he's still charging forward, as you can see on those medium tyre compound, clearly finding some kind of pace benefit at this stage of the race. Lap number 3, pit stops will be around lap number 5 for those on softs, which would be really early to try and make anything work on the mediums. So Racing 1 is going to try and make as much move as he can now. DRS is wide open, but he's just going to have to wait as a caution comes out, and contact between Racing Rig 1, over pushing into the corner, and he spins it as well. Luckily, with some ghosting, denies a bit more contact as Esports 3 finds himself going around again on traction as well. These drivers struggling with the patience in the dirty air, and contact again. More wing damage found, and a lot of debris scattered all over the circuit.
They just missed the braking point, went straight into the back of Esports 3 there. I feel sorry for them. I think they're having to be a bit slow because the softs are falling off the way, and they're pitting already.
Yeah, he's going to have to pit onto the hards. It's the only tyre that will make him last until the end, and he has to repair that wing damage to get anywhere further into this race. But we see the two back-to-back liveries of Owls and 1224 now circling together, a little bit off of the back of Redders up in fifth position. 2.6 is the gap, and they will want to be working together rather than holding each other up here.
Yeah, obviously, as matching liveries, you'd want to work together as much as possible, but that's not always applicable here. You know, every driver for themselves all the time, as GCS Owls goes right round the outside of 1224 there, and maybe you can say that they think GCS Owls has a higher chance of catching Redders in front, so they let the swap happen.
Yeah, 122 is struggling heavily. He's got a hugely poor exit as well. Racing Rig 1 now on the back of him already with a huge momentum bonus with the DRS opening up, but it's not going to be an advantage. They both have it as he is stuck in between this little bit of a gap, but with Racing Rig 1 getting a better run through that corner. He's only got a little bit of battery left, but he's already getting a little bit of a run on now. He's already pulling out of the slipstream alongside, but running across that rule is going to shave off some of the momentum that he has, and is actually going to be 122 now trying down the inside of Owls instead, which is going to cause them to be side by side with a poorer exit, which is now going to open up the opportunity for Racing Rig 1 to get on the throttle a little bit earlier, but he had quite a lot of slip coming out of that corner. So with the DRS wide open again towards turn number 1, 122 is going to try and send it down the inside, does outbrake, but overbrakes himself as well, goes really deep, but does manage to get the car back planted onto the circuit, keeping it central, keeps himself in that 6th position for now, and back in front of Owls.
What amazing racing here. You saw Racing Rig get on the brakes a little bit earlier, maybe fishing for a switchback, but ultimately it doesn't happen as... What? I forgot what the order was. Oh, and there's this bit of a slip coming out of there. That Racing Rig, the possibility of an overtake, at least for the time being, just slipping away from their grip.
Yeah, Racing Rig 1 slipping away on the back end of 122, who's also had their own issues. Let Owls back through again. He's struggling massively in these high downforce sections, but he clearly has a decent car underneath him in the straight line speeds. But Racing Rig 1 also struggling with the car's grip underneath him as well. We're hitting that tyre deg phase now. Lap number 5 of 13. And these drivers, with how much they've been battling and racing already, will definitely be feeling it underneath them now, losing away. He's trying to call that gap, but it's going to be very difficult with the little amount of ERS on his hands. So we look a little bit further back. Steam VR getting nearly into the wall on the back of Chicken Nugget, who we do know has that damage that he's still running with, but Steam has ran out of ERS as we come round to turn 27.
Oh, and a lock-up going deep into the corner here. That, ruins any possibility of a move down into turn 1, but they're both going to be pitting.
Yeah, lap number 6 now on these soft tyres for the leader, but they're pitting on the end of lap number 5 as we see Alex coming out into the traffic. He takes that earlier pit stop that he finds himself needing to take on those soft compound tyres, onto the mediums now for the second stint, but he finds himself into some deadly traffic that he has to now survive to keep his race against Josh up ahead, going smoothly, trying to already make some moves onto Owls as we don't quite see it. He already does get back past. Now with 1-2-2 directly in front of him, but once he gets past, he has a 26-second gap to try and find some pace as he's now getting a clean run out of the corner, and he is already back alongside him with the grip. He's going to find his way on into P number 3 with clear out air in front. Can he make this undercut stick?
Yeah, the undercut is a very powerful strategy here, and clearing that traffic right away is definitely going to be crucial for the rest of this race, as the two cars in front are yet to pit, and they're in the pit now.
Yeah, as we see Racing Rig 1 again going really, really right through the chicane. Nearly on the track limits violations again. Owls clearly really struggling with his tyres now. He is losing pace to the driver in front of him and losing time to Racing Rig, who's sending it down the inside, but his exit's going to be poor. His traction was kind of tough as well, but right now you will be seeing the DRS flaps opening up for the both of them as we head back towards turn number 1. It is in favour of Owls at the moment, still stuck behind, but Racing Rig 1 tries to send it down the inside of 1-2-2, and he also gets past, which will give him some clear air to potentially drag himself forward.
Yeah, making the move stick on the inside there, crucial. I think Racing Rig has been slightly faster than 1-2-2-4 and GCS Owls for a little bit now, and with the clean air, let's see what they can do.
Yeah, as we said with Alex, he got stuck in that traffic. He does get a little bit of time towards them after he clears back that traffic in the undercut, but he lost so much time. He is now 7.7 seconds off of the back of Josh, and Josh is still drifting 5 seconds now back of Daniel Hope, with Racing Rig 5 seconds behind that, but yet to pit. That gap is going to keep on growing.
Yeah, it's been a lot more action than I was expected, as I think that was GCS Owls going really close to the wall in the background there, but we're following on board, or well, we're following 1-2-2-4 right now as they're trying to keep pace with Racing Rig 1, and that gap hasn't expanded as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, Daniel Hope still running a decently consistent race on those hard tyres now, is going to be trying to just survive it to the end. He doesn't need to push more than he does. But a driver who does need to push is 1-2-2-2, trying to get back in front of Racing Rig 1, which he successfully does into turn number 27 as he now heads into pit lane off those old medium tyres, with a late pit stop onto lap number 8, potentially looking onto the soft tyres. But we do look at our race leader to give him a little bit of action. 5.5 seconds out in front is Daniel Hope, who is now rounding this amazing track at night, and what a glorious livery he runs as well.
Yeah, it's been a really clean race from Daniel Hope so far. Like, getting away into turn 1 early was really important for him, as we now go with Chicken Nugget as we're following this train of drivers through into turn 1.
We do see a ghosted car in the mix, potentially under AI control, as Chicken Nugget is at the back of this train in P13. Does still have those medium tyres and low fuel ERS on his car. Behind Steam Grizz in front of him, but you do have a couple of drivers as well in this train. But it is starting to find a little bit of a struggle. You see them all in this dirty air now with a lot of difficulty. With about 5 laps remaining, it'll be interesting to see if any of these drivers can make their way forward.
Yeah, it's a lot happening here, and we're going on board with Redders as they're looking to get a move down the inside of GCS Owls. Are they going to make it work? Opting for the outside DRS, ERS. The move is quite simple. It's just fast.
Yeah, as we see him getting past, he's already onto the back of F-Zone, who's dropping rapidly through the grid now. You see Racing Rig out in front of him as well. Redders is going to open that DRS again, and he's just got so much momentum. It's going to be easily passed before even the braking zone. Redders up into P number 4, but you do have to mind that Racing Rig and Esports 3 have already pit in this lap race. Same with 122. So he's got to find some pace now to try and offset the tyre difference, or otherwise they might be able to make something work. But
yeah, a lot more overtaken. We thought qualifying was going to be a very important here, but just as many moves has been made on this track as any other. I don't think your track position, the gap, and how much you can maintain it or close it.
Yeah, as you see, the tyres now coming up. Redders does have that medium set tyres, and he will be in prime position to be finishing in this 4th position, but he will be racing F-Zone to the end. He does clearly have that better pace, though, at the moment, as he just has finished that overtake with Esports 3, one slightly older mediums behind that, who had to pit early due to that damage that he did pick up, and a little bit of a squandered opportunity from earlier in qualifying.
Wow, look at the places gained on Redders. 11 places from the start line, as we're seeing more and more penalties come through from the back half of the grid.
Yeah, Daniel Hope setting a fastest lap and well on that last one, but got to be careful as F-Zone into the bacon zone of 27, nearly into the back of Redders, completely misjudged how early Redders was going to be on that and on the brakes, but does keep it controlled in the end. Doesn't pick up any damage, but will lose a little bit of time as we see Lachlan picking up another set of penalties at the back of the grid. We do see a collection of those penalties that will make a huge difference on the end of this race.
Yeah, F-Zone locking up the fronts there. Maybe misjudging the corner a bit, how hard they had to brake, but that's going to cause the increased wear on their tyres. And now, do they have a chance to catch Redders? The gap is only expanding. Maybe that was their opportunity squandered.
Yeah, currently you got Chicken Nugget on the back of Steam. He is the closest driver on the circuit to any other car, and he has a better exit out of that corner, but isn't able to drag alongside. But he does continue to find that bit of an exit, but already braking, and with the driver squabbling in front of him, trying to find any kind of grip, but struggling on those tyres. He'll also pick up a penalty as well, which means Chicken Nugget will have a clear chance behind him if he just finishes behind, as the track violations from Steam VR goes absolutely wild as he loses control of the car. He picks him another 3-second penalty. He does buy himself a gap, but not enough to offset the penalty at the moment. It will be interesting to see as Chicken Nugget is struggling at the hands of the wheel of this car to keep up with his pace of corner cutting at the moment. But right now, it is going to be F-Zone still falling off the back of Redders and struggling into 27. Loses the back as well, tapping the rear wing. It'll be interesting to see if he picks up any floor damage, but he does spin it around quickly and drags away from Esports 3 before he gets anything. But you can see the twitch. He's frustrated with himself with that lockup.
Yeah, but we're seeing decent gaps from everyone here at the front. It's just that backpack again, as there's moves being made in the back, but penalties. Chicken Nuggets going past TCS into the back. Was that wing damage, perhaps? I think they're going to take that through to the end of the race. There's no use pitting now. We're on lap 11 of 13.
Yeah, Owls has got more pace than Chicken Nugget does. He was ahead of him before the pit stop rotation, but the undercut offset them a little bit. Now on the soft tyres, clearly got the grip advantage and is able to get back on pass, but did pick up that damage, being a little bit impatient behind. Now we're just waiting to see, can he pick up to Steam as well? But it will be interesting to see who has more penalties by the end of this race, as we see Owls pick up another penalty of his own as well, which means his race is just going to get that little bit harder.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough time left in this race to generate a gap to Chicken Nugget that will see them hold position. But we're looking at multiple penalties here. Chicken Nugget, they don't even need to overtake anymore. They just need to hold.
Yeah, they need to just hold the position. But we have seen Racing Rig 1 again now coming back into the fray with 122. Drivers that have already squabbled a few times, and GCS Owls would have loved to have been in this fight as well, but suddenly has found himself further down. But still, an opportunity for 122. The driver supporting a very similar livery to still find himself a decent result here. But Racing Rig 1 onto the back, opening up that DRS as well, but he doesn't have the ERS to deploy it, and you can see the difference of ERS. If you manage to save it, 122 is able to pull away even with the DRS advantage against him.
Yeah, they're both on soft compound tires here. Means they probably pitted around the same time, started on the same compound. These two drivers have been together through every lap of this race. I wonder if Racing Rig is going to be able to get the overtake done in the penultimate lap here, or if we're going to have to wait till the final lap.
Racing Wig 1 has a bit more ERS at this time around, but chooses not to use it at the moment as he is behind 122 in a part of the circuit that it's hard to overtake, and we do see Steam get enough of a penalty behind GCS Owls, but GCS Owls' goal is now to break that gap to Chicken Nugget, who is right on the back, and he does make that overtake work as well onto the back of Steam, who is struggling in that car yet again. That will promote him into P number 11 provisionally, but potentially P number 10 as we turn our eyes back to Racing Rig now. He's got that DRS, but is still waiting patiently as Owls gets enough a penalty, which will almost seal the deal with Chicken Nugget into P10 as long as he doesn't pick anything. But we're going back to the 127, and he has the DRS open. He has the DRS to support it this time around, and before the braking zone approaches, he is already sailing on by, making it look easy in front of the crowd in the final corners as he drives off into the distance. The DRS now back in favor of 122. Does he have the ERS to now deploy back down the main straight? He does, and you've seen this many times at Jeddah. You get the overtake at 27, but it leaves you weak for number 1, and 122 picks up a penalty for multiple track limits and also goes wide of overshooting the corner in turn number 1, which will give Racing Wig back P number 7.
It was looking so good for 1224. You know, getting the run up on the inside back into turn 1 was incredible, as we're going to see Daniel Hope here cross the line in P1. A commanding performance from him today.
9.5 second leads. You saw it in qualifying, massively out in front. Josh coming through in P number 2, trying his hardest to keep pace, but it's now 16.5 seconds back to Alex. It's been a huge performance from the top 2 today. Alex has got to be proud to be on the podium, but would have wished for some more competitivity to head further in this tournament. But Redders will then be another 19 seconds adrift down in P number 4. He's going to be happy that he's going to be able to advance, but it won't be the greatest opportunity or performance for himself. He had to make up so many positions in this race, and that's really what squandered his chances here today as we wait on the last few drivers to cross the grid.
Yeah, it's really just procession here at this point. No one's really close enough to make a move unless you're looking right to the back of the pack. We're just watching driver after driver cross the line here, and it's been quite an exhilarating race as you see Racing Rig spin himself out in the back line there.
Yeah, and he had that penalty, but had plenty of a gap. Did 122 as he crossed the line as Ramos finishes in P number 9. Owls will finish in P10 across the grid, but 12 seconds to add to his name, which will promote Chicken Nugget into the 10th position, and that will mean everything for him as he can now advance further into the tournament.
Yeah, great stuff here by all the drivers. Really exciting action, but we have more to come as we're going to go to a break.
just skip over it for now, and then I'll invite you back in a second, Bulky.
And we are back. We're here at Interlagos in Brazil, ready for our qualifying here. Very, very quick lap time. I'm excited to see these cars go around this track.
I am excited as well. You got another set of drivers here for this one-shot qualifying. Again, it's going to be the same thing as the last time. Top 10 will progress onto the next stage here at the Williams Student Racing League. Here at Interlagos for the second race of the night, 25% race distance will be what we have here again. That will mean 18 laps here around the iconic circuit out in South America. Obviously, you've got those iconic first center S's and then a bunch of other amazing overtaking zones. But it will be interesting on this one-shot qualifying to see if these drivers can hook up the lap and if the gap at the top will be anywhere near as dominant as last time, or will it be a lot closer this time around?
Yeah, Brazil here, we're looking at some very big elevation changes throughout the lap, specifically those center S's going straight down into the turn 4 straight.
Yeah, the turn 4 is a heavy overtaking zone, but as we see ourselves now loading into the qualifying, we have a few drivers in this session, and we're now going into turn number 1, following on board. Racing Rig 5 is first out of the S10 RSs, but it's Luke Sawyer out in the lead right now as we go round onto the main straight. The second straight, we're turning into turn number 4. It's a sharp left-hander, but will be followed directly by a second left-hander. We see Jake Harrington getting a bit of a benefit into the braking zone, but Luke Sawyer with the ERS deployment now, heading up the hill, back into P number 1 for now, with a lot of changing going on behind as well. He now takes the right turn. It's going to swing back around with a huge elevation change that you mentioned already, now heading back up the hill once again.
Yeah, very, very fast. Lots of changes between all these racers here. Lots of jostling for time here as we're going down into the last proper corner of this circuit, straight onto the power, into the main straight. This is going to be one of the fastest sections of this track. DRS on, power straight through to the line, and we're looking at a 1:7.562 for pole position.
Yeah, Jack Harrington right behind me, that 177, but then it's a huge 7/10 gap to Gaming Infinity behind. The top 2 clearly making a mainstay out in front in this first session, as we see Steam Grim is down in P14, but the grid is set with a few drivers across the grid being vastly behind the leading 2 again. They are going to be the pace setters here at Brazil, but the ones behind, you see from P3 down to about P14, all setting their laps at the exact same time, were spread by only a margin of a few seconds for a couple of the drivers. The top 6 sped by 1 second in total. But behind that, you do see the clutches of P10 being a huge 1.5 second drop from P9 to P11. It's going to be interesting to see if the drivers can keep themselves clean or if they can get to those positions. And that is the main focus here. P number 10. They've got to be focused on advancing here today.
Yeah, I'm specifically going to be looking at the difference between P1 and 2 here though. Only less than 0.2. That is pretty close here, and I hope they're going to produce some excellent racing for us.
As we are waiting for the drivers to load into the lobby and the iconic 5 red lights to tick on up in the beautiful skyline we have here for the 25% race, which will be about 18 laps here at Brazil. 1 stop on the table again. Medium tires onto hard tires. Definitely the most consistent strategy, but softs will give you an advantage if you do choose to use the tires. But the deck still quite high as we go to the lights, to the hill with 4 and then 5 as they set themselves off with a clean start from Luke Sawyer, but getting an amazing start. Jack Harrington around the outside, trying down the inside, locking up as well. But Luke Sawyer clean into this lead as we see behind Jake trying to make a move onto Racing Rig 5 as they now sweep on through onto that second straight. Already AFY up into P5 getting past Jake as well as it's 3 wide, 2 wide into the corner is locking up as well as we have a few drivers going wide and a driver spinning in the backgrounds as well. Now heading round back up to the hill for the first time here at Sao Paulo. Luke Sawyer is your leader, followed by Jake Harrington, and so we're going to calm down for a little bit of time, but it's not going to be a calm affair for Bertram at the back.
What an exciting start. So many drivers jostling for position. Jack Harrington thought he had the run around the outside of turn 1, but Luke Sawyer getting back in there, and 6 tenths is the gap. Looking through to the first big straight of this lap. Times between them still less than a second across the board. Overtakes are going to be impeccable here.
Yes, we get a 1:12.8 as our first lap as we are heading to the top of the hill. This is the peak of the climb as we see just in front CT08 getting in front of One Chubby Cub down the inside into the center S's as we now round on through, and it's on Ollie Matthews trying to make the run and work with the DRSs now opening up for the drivers across the grid as we do see Racing Rig quite challenged by Jake behind, but keeping it clean as we see behind a driver going wide again, but it's the leading 3 now pulling a little bit away of AFY is a 1 second already pulling that DRS zone that is crucial for lap number 2.
Yeah, lots of... The gap is not increasing between a lot of these drivers. We're starting to see a bit of a gap form out in front between P3 and P4, but we've got penalties coming through on towards the back of the pack. Everyone is still really close together.
We're seeing a bit of the back. Josh, Delusion and Bertman falling off the back of the rest of the pack. Same with FaZe Grey as well. But we see Jack Harrington still on the back of Luke Sawyer. But does he have the ERS to chase him down? Not quite, but he does set the faster lap out of the 2 drivers. Now, a levy lock up for Luke Sawyer. He's going to catch Jack Harrington off guard. He's going to tap his front wing, and he's going to have a little bit of a spin. That's going to heat up his tyres, and he's going to give Gaming Infinity behind a chance to potentially come at him. But he does get onto the throttle soon enough to defend himself this time around.
Yeah, big runs down into turn 4. No positioning being made. No attempts have been made just yet, but we're looking at CT08 get really tantalizingly close to the back of Racing Rig 5.
Yeah, Racing Rig 5 now under heavy pressure as One Chubby Cub falls another position, but then tries to fight it back again. It is fighting over P number 8, one of the main positions that are important for this race. But further up, you still see Jake on the back of AFY, who has fallen off of those in front of him now, outside of the podium fighting positions. But still, rounding up this hill, he will have DRS this time around, which will make Jake's efforts a lot more difficult. But further down, One Chubby Cub is going to be challenged by Ollie Matthews as they head up the hill. He's the first in these trades to get the DRS deployment and assistance. As we round once again, we see up in front a little bit of a fake, but will be any of these drivers able to make a move at the Roans? Unable to this time around, but a heavily closed up grid compared to that first race so far.
Yeah, further on down the field as well, CT getting past Racing Rig 5 into the center S's, but we've still got DRS on this straight. Not quite close enough to make a move yet, but hopefully going wide a bit as well, but hopefully they can stick close enough to the back to be able to make a move on this lap.
Yeah, Jake Harrington still feeling the negative he felt as he tapped his front wing, still not able to catch back up to Luke Sawyer yet. But it's AFY catching up to the back of Gaming Infinity. That gap has closed recently, but Jake is even more racy behind, putting that nose and finding the twitch in front as well. Might give him the run into this corner, but he's really close now. Within 2 tenths coming through this final corner. It will grow slightly on the acceleration, and a poor exit for Gaming Infinity will give AFY a run as well. As we round the hill, the ERS is already low, turning it off relatively early, which is going to mean AFY is the one who's on the offensive. He's already on the outside, and he's out-braking Gaming Infinity, but still, it's a long way around. Keeping his nose in, he's going to keep it on the inside, but isn't able to find anything on the back of that. It's Gaming Infinity holds his ground, but it's now 2 wide behind, and it's going to grow into 3 wide into turn number 4 as Gaming Infinity squeezes out in front for the moment, but Jake still on the outside as AFY trying to make it stick. He is now into P number 3, but it's still going towards the hill. Gaming Infinity having to give up that first position and opening up the gap for Jake to slide on by as he slides off of the circuit and loses an extra position to CT as well.
Such clean racing by our top five here, and you've got CT taking that 5th position from Gaming Infinity after the unfortunate spin, but all these cars are still very close together. You see Jake only 2/10 off AFY coming into this final part of the lap. Is he going to get the run up the outside? Attempts it, but has to lift off the throttle a bit. But now we're straight on the power, looking into the DRS zone, running, climbing up the hill, still climbing, getting alongside here, and we're cutting to a battle for the front.
Yeah, Jake Harrington has to find a move on to Luke Sawyer. He's really caught up that gap now. Just lose a little bit on the center S's exit. But Jake did solidify that move onto AFY into the podium positions and charging forward. He's made multiple overtakes as well, but Jack Harrington is still the one challenging for this lead as Jake and FY are fighting again through that section, but they're losing so much time to this top 2. It is so important for them to fight for this P3, but it is more important for them to impress as Jake is losing a position to CT08 as well now, as he's potentially falling away at the momentum, but he keeps it on the inside and he's able to drive his way back in front.
Yeah, you're starting to see through multiple cars here, the tires are beginning to fall off, so we're going to expect some pit stops relatively soon, I'd imagine. But the gaps are not increasing, they're still staying behind. We're getting another run of CT08 on Jake here into turn 1. DRS open for the lot of them. This is a big train.
Yeah, Racing Rig 5 on the back of Gaming Infinity with the DRS open. He's going to go around the outside and is by already. They made a nice move going on to lap number 7 on the soft tires, but they've got to start aching now. It's going to be a little bit of a drag for them to try and make these stints last a little bit longer to make the next stint easier on themselves, as we do see.
If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you'll lose, you lost. Success begins with a person's will. It's a state of mind.
Into turn 1, I imagine big snap there, and that might be opportunity gone.
Yeah, something's happened to Jake. He's slipped down to P number 6 very quickly as we see him flash the hard tires. He's potentially got more pace in that car underneath him. He's going to go really long into this race, but it's now Jake Harrington with a huge run into turn number 1. Not able to make anything work, but he's still right on that back end now. He's seeing the derating from the car in front. He's opening up the ERS. He knows the car in front is going to be shy on any more electrical power, so he's deploying it all, and he will be clearly sailing on by, taking P number 1 on the road, but will now have to try and drag his car way out in front of Luke Sawyer as he needs to offset any kind of undercut advantage that Luke Sawyer will find in the second stint in this race.
10 laps remaining. You've got to look at pit stops soon, surely. We've been 8 laps on these sets of tires now. They're going to be basically falling off the planet Earth at this point, as we're seeing further back Jack wanting to get a run onto Racing Rig 5 again, just hanging onto the back of the car in front, hoping for an opportunity down into turn 1, as most drivers do.
Yeah, we missed what happened to him. He fouled multiple positions, and with these hard tyres, he shouldn't be having any kind of tyre wear issues, but he's looking very racy now on the back of Racing Rig 5. But he gets to the inside curve. That's going to make his exit a little bit poorer, and he's using the DRS really early on. He's actually going to make the move even before the DRS opens up, and Racing Rig 5 doesn't have anything of his own. We see CT08 being the first of the drivers into the pit lane.
A bit of a lock-up coming into turn 1 as well, but it doesn't really matter. The move was done very early in the straight.
Yeah, he made that look easy on that one and is now chasing down AFY, who was racing with before. He has the cleaner tyres, so he might gain quite a lot of time on this lap. He found a lap time improvement over his personal best as well in that previous sector, as he has still got plenty of tyre wear in his hands, and he will be racing the end on either the soft or medium compound tyres, as we see a couple of penalties are flagging up across the grid. Burt Ram picking up one for a pit lane entry violation, Harry having one of his own, and Steam Grim having one, and FaZe Grey at the back as well.
Yeah, we've seen some great racing by all parties today. The couple track infringements here and there, but it doesn't seem to be massively influential as of yet.
As we see a 15.5-second gap growing to 16 seconds between Gaming Infinity and Harry. Potentially the drivers out in front trying to wait out on when Harry is going to pit to get clear out on track, as CTOA has found himself stuck behind that car at the moment. Very racy though. He's already finding himself with a huge run on the back of him, and he will have a DRS assistance, but to climb up this hill as he rounds around the outside, we do unfortunately see Racing Rig 5 pick up a 10-second validation penalty as he comes into the pit lane a little bit over the speed limit, which is going to make his race get a little bit more sour. But CT doesn't want to be locking up his tyres like that if we continue into this race.
Important move from CT. The undercut working for them very well, keeping ahead of Racing Rig 5, and we're looking towards AFY and Jake in front now that Jack Harrington and Luke Sawyer have pitted.
Jake has cut that lap time down to 1.1 seconds. He's gained over 1.5 seconds in that final lap on those hard tyres. Clearly has the advantage right now, but we are closing into soft tyres to end out this race. If Jake feels comfortable enough, his pace will jump up massively onto the softs, but it might seem like he doesn't trust his tyre wear, so might find himself on the medium tyres, but that will still have some benefits. As we see Racing Rig 5 getting past the traffic, that is Harry. Same with ES Clutch trying to make benefit of the move in front of him as well, but he's stuck behind him through that left king, and he's still trying to make it work. But it's going to be him now trying to pick up in a little bit of speed, but he is already drifting off a little bit, but that DRS will open up behind as he wants to get away from Ollie Matthews, who is trying to charge them down as well. But he, now rounding into the center S's, locks up his tyres and makes it a little bit more difficult for him to chase after.
Yeah, Harry finally pitting on lap 11 of 18 here, letting quite a few cars from behind through, and we're looking towards Gaming Infinity now as the gap between them and Ollie Matthews continues to close. Gaming Infinity was in our top 3 at one point, I believe, now sitting in P9, chasing the back, hoping to stick around behind long enough to be able to get a move in on Ollie Matthews. Both have pitted so far, so it's all fighting for position here. Gaming Infinity, you'd think they're faster, and the gap is closing going into the final corner of this circuit. We're going to look at the run into turn 1 here. Out of the final corner, on the ERS, on the power, the gap is closing slowly but surely. Will they have enough in them to make it to the end? It's not quite this lap, but maybe we look towards turn 4 as a potential opportunity as they go very deep into the corner.
Yeah, he goes very deep. His X is going to be kind of poor here. He is deploying that ERS. He does want to try and make something work, as we see more penalties come on through as well. One Chubiko picks up a 3-second of his own, but nothing is on for this lap around. And that is a crucial penalty at the front of the grid. Jack Harrington has found massive pace over Luke Sawyer so far in this second stint, and Luke Sawyer has now sealed that fate with a 3-second penalty at the front of the grid. But an even bigger swing is Jake picking up 10 seconds of his own penalties coming into the pit lane, which will give CT and AFY huge advantages over him.
Yeah, we're still looking at Gaming Infinity. The gap is tantalizingly close, less than a tenth at one point there. We're going to look again to the last corner of the circuit. Good exit here is necessary, and they've got it. They're going to run up, climb up the hill. Little bit less power here, but we're going to open the DRS, and the run to turn 1 begins. Fighting each other all steps of the way. the move is made before the corner even appears.
Yeah, he makes the move look easy, but you see out in front, CT lose the position to Jake, and they fight themselves back through the SNRSs as well, but Jake's still out in front at the moment, but the gap still trying to see if they finalize who's in front. Jake is the one who does hold on to P4 in the end, out on track, but he does have that penalty to his name. Gaming Infinity, though, definitely going to be a little bit frustrated with this traffic that he has ran into. He was racing with 5 for P number 6, but now he's down in P8 and behind cars that are now, in his eyes, probably slower than him, and he will be definitely trying to eke his way back through, but he's got 5 laps to do so.
Yeah, it's very close, the margins here. We're looking at Jake on the back of AFY going up the hill again, the pit straight even. DRS coming open. Is the gap close enough? Slipstream, DRS, ERS being deployed as well. Is it enough to make the move work? It's happened again before the corner even appears. No chance for AFY to fight back as they're going to run into turn 4. Will AFY be able to take the position back? We shall see. DRS open for him now. The run is going long. Jake takes the inside line, but it's not enough. AFY sweeps through the outside.
Yeah, we saw Jake already derating halfway down the straight. He's still derating on the exit of the corner, trying to get as much ERS as he can to try and make this fight as easy as possible. But he's not the only one struggling on the ERS here. AFY also opting to try and regen some of that battery. Clearly, both of them struggling on battery control at the moment. It's going to be crucial for them to be able to actually find the benefit in ERS that can last them both of these straights. But as we look down the grid, it is one Chubby Cub who has got a clear gap at P number 10 to solidify himself for the advancement at the moment. But it's further forward that the action is happening as Jake now trying to make the run. He has that penalty to his name, but he still wants to finish in the podium on track. It's still a glorifying effort if you do so, and he's going to again get ahead, but does he run out of ERS? He's locking up the tires as well, but he does make the apex of the corner more cleanly than that of AFY, who has a poorer run than last time around. So does he have enough of a gap this time as AFY opens up that DRS coming through? He is derating this time around, but still tries to feign the efforts, but isn't able to find anything.
Yeah, Jake is going to hope that is the last he sees from AFY this lap. Been a bit of a thorn in his side, but that gap is getting slightly bigger. Is there enough time to mitigate the penalty?
At this point, I don't think there's enough time to mitigate 10 seconds worth of penalties. That 10 seconds is what separates him and Luke Sawyer, who has been a decent class in this field so far. But Jake Harrington out in front is definitely been a solid force of his own, and has proven why he was so close in the qualifying and has just kept it smarter, kept it cleaner in the race. Started on a harder set of compound tires, and that has brought him the advantage in these dying stages as he finally took over that position before the pit stops. But ES Clutch is now on the back end of Gaming Infinity after he has recently just got overtaken, now trying to find the advantage and fight back. He's deploying that ERS at the end of the straight, just enough to stop the derating and find his way, slicing down the inside into the center S's as Gaming Infinity is now try and make the re-attack work again. He's not derating anywhere near as soon. He is alongside as well as he dives down the inside and makes it work back into P number 7 in the successful defense.
Yeah, the corner wasn't clean enough for ES Clutch. Gaming Infinity getting the better launch off the apex here. It managed to sweep past into turn 4. I think tire wear is now becoming a bit of an issue again, specifically for those who pitted earlier. I don't see any other way that ES Clutch is maintaining this gap to Gaming Infinity, considering what Gaming Infinity was doing in the earlier part of this race.
Yeah, it seems like ES Clutch has warmed himself up into this session. He is finding better pace than he did at the start, but AFY is also trying to find some of that pace he had earlier in the race, slipping back behind CT08 at this current stage now, trying to chase him back down. With only 2 laps left and a slide like that, it's going to be a hard effort, but he still has plenty of time with plenty of ERS for this straight, and the tar in front has no ERS in his disposal, but he does have a braking zone in his favor,
Ooh.
and a huge slide out of AFY is going to thwart his efforts, and he has run out of ERS entirely as well.
Those softs, they're too old, too worn. There's not enough life left in them to be able to make an overtake stick at this late stage of this race. But lap 17 of 18 here, I think most of these drivers should be fairly content with how they've performed today and are gonna want to bring it home safely.
ES Clutch still on the clutches behind Gaming Infinity to make anything work. He is very, very outsy on the back of this as well, but his tyres are older and you can see him struggling now behind. He does lose a little bit of time and his exit is already sliding again as he comes up the hill. He really wants to get onto the back of this car, but he is still struggling and the gaps are starting to expand across the grid overall as we see a caution out in sector number 2 as it is potentially one of the back markers into the walls, into the grass, but it's AFY who's not into the grass and not onto the back of CTO8, not able to find anything as well. He will have one opportunity, one final run to the top of the hill to make anything else work, and Jake isn't able to make that 10-second gap work at the moment, so he is still going to be dropping out of this podium, but will still be happy to find that he can have the pace to do so overall.
AFY hanging onto the back of CT here. He's not giving up. Play until the flag is what he says. He's the run. We're looking at Jack Harrington here. Brilliant race from him overall. He takes P1 in this 25% Brazil race. But I'm still curious as to how AFY is going to get past if he does at all.
Yeah, it's not a big gap. He's less than 5 tenths out of the final corner. He's going to open up that DRS. He's going to deploy everything to the line, but he won't have enough. He will run out of ERS, but he will still jump up to P4 with CT on the podium. ES Clutch also unable to remake the moves back onto Gaming Infinity as Racing Rig 5 drops to P number 8, and we have a few drivers left now circulating the circuit. Oliver Matthews going to be the next across the line, 18 seconds adrift. But still, a P9 and a point scoring result for him. Same with One Chub Cubby in that critical P number 10 here to progress further through this next stage. That is the main goal with everyone else now rounding these final few corners to finish off this race. Unfortunately, they won't be progressing, but they definitely will still be happy with finishing out the race. Bertram will be your leading P number 11. Harry, Jacob and Cosmos with different amounts of penalties will drop them potentially even further. But your winner today is Jack Harrington here at Brazil, and he will be certainly happy with his result. But it was a classic strategy advantage. He pit first. He had the better tyres for the second stint against Luke Sawyer today. Luke Sawyer tried his damnedest, but didn't have enough in his hands. And still, a good effort from the both of them to get onto this podium with CTO8 rounding it out as we send over to the host to give us a little bit more of a breakdown.
Sorry about that, guys. We had some technical difficulties, but what a good 2 races they were. First, Jeddah, we had over 5 DNFs, which was mental for the first race of the season. And then in Spain, nearly every driver had penalties. Okay, so we have 2 more races left tonight, and I am so excited to see you guys watch it and enjoy it as much as the rest of us. Okay, we are going to go to a quick break before the last 2 races, but I will see you soon.
That's your PS one? No worries, no worries. So it should be under F then. Here we go. Invite has been sent. Oh, you got an invite anyway? Okay, sweet. No worries, all good, all good. Try swinging. Okay, we'll do that. Invite Logan Edward. I see Brad Lukey here anyways. I'm just going to invite Brad Lukey, if that's okay. And then we can go back to it because you're appearing online, so it's quite easy to find you. Then we need to go to Dune Valley, F1 Sim. DB2, invite has been sent. I'm just going to click spectate on my end. I'm going to invite the broadcaster. Invite sent. Okay. For Bob Kit Kat, are you in the lobby, Bob Kit Kat? I'm just going to skip over you for now. I'm going to invite the other Dune Valley. If you could also invite each other, that'd be great as well. For Dune Valley. I've sent another invite anyways. Okay, then we need College Cambrio, Motor Express. Motor Express or CLGC? Okay, not appearing online. I think M is on the other page. Okay, I don't see here. Okay, let me go back. Maybe I skipped over it. CLGC, CLGC. I'm just gonna bite into it. I went past it near the top. Fantastic. Got it. Thanks. I knew I went past that. That's good. All good. Should be done. Right. I'm just gonna do a quick head count just while we've got people in. So George is in. Brad Lukey is in. Hi, Lewis. Okay. Continue on. CLGC is in. Fantastic. I'm going to take that off. Ty Lewis is in. Okay. We'll continue on. Team Make 2. Okay, I'll send another invite to that. William White, I remember you. You're right at the bottom of page 2. If I remember correctly. Maybe I don't. We've added so many people since. What? You're always at the bottom of my list. Maybe you're appearing online. There you are appearing online. Thank you for that. That's just me. No, thanks. That's just on me. Okay, Squid Cabra. Let me check if you're appearing online firstly. are. Thank you. Invite has been sent. Hazards Racing, CABC. CABC is maybe Hazard. Okay, not appearing online. Not on here either. No, that's not you. Okay, I see Alex on, I don't see Hazard. It's not you, Celts, no? Okay, for now, we'll just skip over that one. And we'll get you back in afterwards. XD Walker, let's have a look here. XP Dan, okay, let's take a look at the online list. There you are, thank you, Yosh, appearing online. Swindon, Logan Edwards, Edward. Invite sent. Waff, I saw that A-Man. There you are, A-Man, invite sent. I remember you being at the top. Tom Roberts. Okay. Yeah, I'll change the track. Don't worry, I'll change the track. I just wanted to get everybody in firstly. Tom Roberts, invite sent. And then CCSW Racer 2. So it's not Adam or Kaylin, I'm guessing. Is it down? Okay. ECE appearing online, hopefully. ECE Sports 2. Why have I put this track on? Sorry, that's my. I literally when I backed out, I was like, why is it on this one? My bad. Zandvoort, normal. Sorry, I literally backed out and I saw that it was Belgium. Oh. Avite Anona. Anona invited. Right, let me see how many people. No, I do not want to leave the session. Let me see how many people we have, firstly, and then we can see if we can get you in. We have 16 in right now. Yeah, so we've got 16 in right now. Does anybody else need an invite that is supposed to be in this race? If you do need an invite and you're scheduled to be in this race, please let me know. For those of you that were able to get Bob Kit Kat, okay. I remember we couldn't find your name, but I see it now. Boom, there we go. So that's 17. So we have 3 spots available. Yeah, that's fine, Ollie. I remember with you guys, it's fine. We're just making sure that if everybody that needs to be in this race, that's scheduled to be in this race, is here. I'm just gonna do a quick head count to make sure that we've got everybody in. So 2 and 6 are in. Bob, you said you're going to jump in a bit. William White, I see you're in. Adam, I see you're in. Pazza, you're in. E washed. Swindon Logan Edward. Waffle DC. Tom Roberts. And Cheshire College South and West. CCS SW. Are you in? I'm just trying to see the name here. You're in? Okay, sweet. Okay, that should be everyone that sent me all the names that are in. Bob Kit Kat, I sent you invites. Were you able to accept? Let me send you another one quick. And if whilst we do that, you're in? Okay, perfect. Okay, and then Lidl. Hopefully you're appearing online.
All right, welcome back, everyone. The next race is at Zandvoort, okay? We've got a one-shot qualifying, and then we've got 18 laps of all-out racing, okay? We are going to go to the casters very shortly, who will introduce us to the qualifying and this time's drivers.
Welcome back here. We are heading to Zandvoort for another set of races and one-shot qualifying. We are here again for the Student Williams Racing League. This is the third race of the evening, and this time it will be again another 18 laps here at Zandvoort. This track definitely a little bit different to that last at Brazil.
Yeah, different, but still we're looking at similar characteristics with the elevation changes. Turn 1 and 11 are our overtaking points of today rather than turn 1 and 4. We're looking at a very high speed sense of the banked corners on this track.
Yeah, the banking is the iconic feature of this circuit. Almost every single corner has some kind of axis tilt onto them, but it's that huge banked last corner that rivals that of Daytona. That is the main impressive feature of this circuit. The DRS opens up at the start of it, and it means it's so important to get good traction out of that corner.
Yeah, turn 12 notoriously difficult for traction with the DRS, but also turn 3 as well, as we're seeing the cars run in as they start their laps.
Rounding through for the first corner then as we head underway here at Zandvoort for the one-shot qualifying. Sector number 1 is your tight and twisty technical section, lower speed as we round through that first corner, using all the banking and switching as we can. Now it's really the point where the banking really starts to increase. Using the low line nowadays in F125 is a lot different to back in the older days, but these changes keep on evolving as we head up the hill and down the hill. The elevation, the undulation is all over the place as we now head on through with Tom Roberts leading the way.
Yeah, it's slower through this little middle part here, but it won't be slow for long as we're going straight into the back straight. DRS back on. We're bolting down into the next chicane into a little bit of a sweeping here. Little bit of slide on the back of Tom Roberts, but through the corner relatively cleanly. And now we're looking into the final turn here on this track. Through one fine, little bit of twisting on the back end. DRS open straight to the line, and it is a 108.151 for our leader.
Yeah, as we see some of the other times now still trickling on in. A little bit of a field spread once again across the grid here today. But the top two spread by only 7 hundredths of a second, as Tom did lose a couple attempts on that final corner. But quite at a tight front two here again. But it's nearly 7 to 8 attempts gap down to P number 3 like we saw in that last race.
Yeah, once again, we're looking at a definite top 2 compared to the rest of the field. This could set up for some great racing.
Yeah, we're seeing some competitive drivers that we will see heading into future heats. As long as they don't do anything out of proportion in the race, there is a lot of decently competitive drivers in some of these lobbies. But still, it's always exciting to see who can clinch that 10th position, as we see Adam McCune, who's going to be starting in that final position in the qualifying for the race.
Yeah, there is a decent sized gap between second and third, and then there's another smaller gap between third and fourth, but then 4 to 6, all really close together. I think we're going to see a lot of action into turn 1 off the start.
Yeah, turn 1 is actually rather a long straight here at Zandvoort, as the start finish is pushed quite back. And it is a lot further back than people actually seem to realise sometimes, and it does make the braking zone quite heavy. But this track is going to be a lot on these first lap efforts, and down to the pit stop strategy these drivers employ. At Brazil, we saw some softs and some mediums, but this track, this higher wear, is so tremendously high. If we see anyone deviating off of the mediums onto hards, they will be struggling and preserving for the entire duration of the race.
Yeah, I want to touch back on the turn 1 point. We've got well, the lights The red lights, and we're away here in Zandvoort, down into turn 1. George Ansel getting quite a decent start off. Tom Roberts trying to look in on the inside, but looking up. They're going side by side through the rest of the pack. George Ansel out in front, Tom Roberts following, CGL, XD washed up 1 position, Logan Edwards down 1, Esports 2 following behind. They're in file here going up the hill.
Yeah, a little bit of squabbling further back as we do see Kalim struggling and causing a yellow at the very back. But CLG already racing on the back of Tom Roberts, got those tyres clearly up to temperature already and is hounding on the back of him. There's not going to be any DRS assistance on this first lap as we see Anona are struggling and going wide in this second sector, but now rounding towards the stadium section. Then you have the 2 black liveried cars following in file behind Tom Roberts and George Ansel, trying to make their efforts and progress lead at the front.
Yeah, not as big as of a gap as I would have anticipated on lap 1 from that quali, but we've still got a full race ahead of us. We're seeing yellow flags further back, quite a few spins. But turn 1, is there going to be any moves made? Any positions jostled here? Doesn't seem like it, but there's a slight lockup from Tom Roberts going around turn 1.
Yeah, Esports 2 and those top 6 now pulling away. Huge gap starting to form further down the grid as we see Lewis up into P13 already. But now, charging back round, we still see Esports 2 right on the back of Logan Edwards, only 3 tenths behind as they start to drift back off of E-Wash.
Yeah, and you're getting to see the characteristic Zandvoort here. Notoriously difficult for overtaking. You're really having to look at the run into turn 1 as your only point of contention.
Yes, we do see one of those top 6 go wide. It's going to cause a little bit of a gap in the top 6. CLG ends up in the gravel, does recover it quite quickly, but will cause that gap out in front for George Ansel and Tom Roberts to now eke away a little bit as we see Esports 2 within that 3 tenths margin, but we're going to have to keep an eye on for these races. He needs to stick within that gap to make it effortlessly easier to make an overtake, but he is now drifted slightly on to the main straight. DRS will be opening up into their hands now on lap number 2 as they are closing up against each other, but Esports 2 will be the one to make it out in front. He has made his way up into P number 4, and CLG slices past Logan Edwards as well into P number 5. Lower down, Lewis makes a move onto Arman, and makes a move onto Adam as well.
Tom Roberts tantalizingly close to George Ansel at the back end of that lap there, just missing a few tenths to make it stick. Will it work this lap? You've got to wonder. I'm not certain. It all depends on this late run of the track. How close can you stay behind? You've got to have about 4 tenths going into that pit straight to be able to make an overtake work.
Yeah, lap 3 already. The amount of sliding that we're seeing from some of these cars. They've got to be careful on the tyres, especially through that sector number 2. It puts so much strain and heat through the tyres, but they will be making so much wear, and a few of these drivers are on those softer compound tyres. CLG, yes, he's had a bit of an issue, but he's in the mix against drivers who are not. But an even worse disaster is his teammate XDE Washed, who spins it on the banking while CLG makes it ahead, but gets a yellow flag caution for making the overtake on the banking, so he has to give it back up, and Logan Edwards slices into P number 3 during that chaos.
Yeah, we mentioned before the race started about the traction on that final corner of the circuit, and they found out the hard way.
Yeah, sadly for XD Wash, they are now completely down the grids, and they've picked up damage as well. They're going to head to the pit lane, and this early is going to be a hell of a stretch to make it on the end on those hard tyres. He might even have to pit yet again in this race. He has the pace to make it back potentially into the top 10, but this is going to be a hell of an effort for him to do so.
It's a recovery drive now for XDE Washed, but still the position he left behind is still hotly contested. But the gap of 5 seconds now to the top 2 as we're watching them go through the final sector in this track. Looking for that exit into turn 1 again. CLG really close. Esports 2 opening DRS on the banking. CLG wanting the run up the inside. Is it going to make it stick? We're getting closer and closer and closer, and Not quite a move on just yet, but that gap is closing fast.
Yeah, as we see further down, Adam McCone making it into P11. He's on the bubble, but it's not in that top 10, crucially, but he needs to make it in to progress here. But an amazing run from CLG out of the banking, actually passes out Esports 2 as we switch to Tom Roberts, who is actually closing up this time around into this top 2. And we also see William White gradually, on these last couple of laps, has actually closed up into P number 6.
Yeah, the gaps, you can definitely see where our drivers are at the moment. Another yellow flag in Sector 2 as someone else goes round. But we're on board with Tom Roberts looking at the final section of this track. Once again, last couple turns, is he going to be close enough to make a move into turn 1? We shall see. DRS activated, banking all the way. ERS on, full power. Are we going to make it into turn 1? Side by side. And the overtake is very, very clean before the corner even appears.
Yeah, he got within that crucial 4/10 margin into that final corner to make that move work. CLG 4-2 makes the same thing work on Logan Edwards as well. But we see Esports 2 really struggling on those soft tyres and falling behind as well. William White makes an error on that previous lap and drops 5 seconds behind. But behind that, Lewis on the back of William White, trying to capitalize on the mistake that has brought William White into his grasp.
Yeah, it's mistakes appear to be the name of the game here. Minimal mistakes means better laps, and we're seeing that with our top 6.
Yeah, as you see, so far that top 2 is 7 seconds already ahead, and these soft tyres are already dying out on these drivers. They might be forced onto a 2-stop strategy at this rate of degradation on these tyres, as we see William White already struggling in his hands as well. I won't deny that a 2-stop might be forced into their hands, but still, they can go to the hards and maybe make it to the end, but it will be a long, long duration for them to keep on going. But Lewis is on the back. He will have that DRS, and William White's going to dive out of the way as he gets stuck on the curb and has a horrible traction zone. And Lewis sails into P number 5 and into the top 5 with Esports 2 in his sights ahead as well.
Yeah, really wide line from William White, fighting for traction on that final corner. Are the tyres starting to wear out? Maybe, as we're seeing Logan Edwards go into the pit, but close the margin between William White and the others, but now we're going on board with George Ansell and Tom Roberts as they're starting to pass back markers.
Both of these drivers on the medium tyres. It's an even game between the two of them. Tom Roberts has made the move onto George Ansell already, back into P number 1. George Ansell wants to find a response. He is within 4/10, but he needs the traction out of this corner, and he needs plenty of ERS to make anything work against Tom Roberts here. He will be in 3/10 for moments, but his exit is a little bit worse. He's going to drive around. He will have that DRS assistance, so it's going to be key. Will there be an ED rating, or will there just be enough momentum for George Ansell to send it back down the inside and make it back into P number 1 after only 1 lap of losing that lead?
Close margins by our top 2 here. Clearly a leg above the rest. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, as we see William White still on the back of Lewis. He doesn't want to give that position away easily, but he is struggling on those soft tyres, and his pace has definitely degraded. Same with Esports 2 as well. 6 seconds adrift of CLG C42, but they need to make these tyres last. If they don't make it last to about a lap 8, lap 9, they will not make it to the end with pace on the mediums or hards, but they still have a long, long way to go.
You can see just how evenly matched our top 2 are. The gap is getting to about 5/10 and then shrinking back down every single time. There is no margin for error between these 2 drivers as we're looking again to the banking and the DRS and the run into turn 1 on the pit straight. Back markers in the way. Thankfully, there's a ghost so that it's not going to get too much in the way, but there isn't enough time for Tom Roberts to take over George Ansell this time.
Yeah, the DRS assistance for George Ansell due to the traffic, but someone who doesn't have DRS assistance is Esports 2, who is now getting barraged by Lewis, but will dive into the pit lane, which will let Lewis free with that DRS assistance to now try and charge down CLGC 42. But the undercut, strong unless they're in traffic, so they've got to hope that they find a clear air on the track. But Ananon and Bob KitKat are now trying to race for P10, but that will be shortly lived as we see Bob KitKat into the pit lane.
Still, the margin for error at the top is little. Tom Roberts maybe used a bit more of their tyres earlier on in the lap, so it's starting to fall away, but as I say that, the gap just closes again. These two cars are so evenly matched with each other. It's impeccable to see.
Yeah, but you're going to see George Ansel 2 laps in a row get a second helping of that DRS from another back marker. That's going to allow him to sail to turn 1 cleanly in front of Tom Roberts, who will be getting frustrated at the assistance that these back markers are playing.
Yeah, but you've got to keep your head in the game. If you get too angry, too agitated early on, you can use up even more of your tyres which are already fading away, and that is not going to spell great music for the long run.
Yeah, we're at this point in the race now where they are actually making it short enough to go to the soft tyres, but personally I would have preferred to see them on the hards, as we see a driver spun around on the side, on the sand dunes, stuck adrift and causing a yellow flag in sector number 2, but that's not going to stop the action between these two at the front. This time there is no traffic in front. Tom Roberts within 5/10 into the stadium section. As we dive on through, you see his traction into the braking zone. He's still got plenty of grip to play with, and he's got plenty of ERS to play with as well. 4/10 on the bubble. He's going to turn through. He's going to deploy. He's going to open the DRS flap. He's going to drive in front of the grandstand and make it move in front of the roaring crowds of the Dutch Grand Prix back into P1 on lap 11.
Yeah, tyres are falling off for the both of them at this point. You've got to wonder when they decide to come into pit, and are they going to try mess around with the pit strategy as well? Are they going to pit opposite each other? You've got to wonder these things as we're on board with XDE Washed chasing the back of Adam McCown, who is still yet to pit, I believe.
Yes, it's a recovery drive for XDE Wash. They're both... XDE Wash has pit already to get some wing repaired, but we don't know if the tyre wear is going to be too difficult for him to make it to the end of the race just yet. This is going to be an ongoing affair, but right now he's got the pace and he's back into P7. So far, a good recovery drive.
A recovery drive indeed. But you know who isn't recovering? George Ansel, as the top two are 12 seconds in front of the next car behind them, and still both of them yet to pit.
Yeah, their tyre wear's got to be eking. At some point, they're going to have to dive into the pit lane, and it will be Tom Roberts into the pit lane first, which will not give George Ansel any room to undercut. So he will follow on in to not give over any kind of advantage. As we look to the back of the grid, we see Liddell on the back of F1 Sim as they both head into the pit lane, although Liddell opts last second to keep on lapping for one more time, as Lewis has a horrible braking zone in sector 2, ends up in the gravel, loses a position to Hazas as well, and his race has started to drop off a kilter a little bit here.
Yeah, I wonder if that was tyre wear or locked brake, or maybe just forgetting your braking point. Any factor of things could happen here, but we're looking at Bobbycat on Adam McCown here. 4/10 the gap going into that last lane. 4/10 is the important thing here coming into the last couple corners. That's what you really need to make an overtake work into turn 1.
Yeah, he is right on the back of Adam for P11. This isn't what's needed to advance them, but this is the first move of many that they will need to make. They need to keep trying to charge on forward, and Bob KitKat has the run to try and charge on, but it's going to be difficult. He's going to try and hide it around the outside, but he won't have the grip, and he will be forced out of that move at the moment, but still very racy behind as we head back through this tight and twisty sections. No run offered available to him. But as we look to the front of the grid, we see CLG has picked up a penalty and lost a position to Logan Edward on track.
Yeah, but we're going back on with George Ansel and Tom Roberts as they pass through turn 1. No move has been made yet, but both of them firing the tyres up relatively quickly. There's no lack of racing between these two today.
Yeah, as you see CLG get back past Logan Edwards on track as well, but he still has that penalty, 15 seconds adrift from the leaders. Lap 13 is the lap we're currently on, and these two drivers have done their pit stop, so now it's an easy run to the end. Still, I'm intrigued by the fact that they did more laps on the mediums than they have on the hards.
It's an interesting strategy, but if it works, it works, as they say in the business. We're looking towards another opportunity maybe for George Ansell. We shall see coming into the final corner, but moves all up and down the pack here. Less mistakes means you're going to do better in this race, and these top two have shown that incredibly well. For just under 5/10 the gap here as George Ansell on battery, on DRS, on throttle, fully through into turn one. Are they going to go side by side? Oh, it's antagonizingly close. Round the inside, George Ansell can't quite find the traction to make it work. Tom Roberts holds on to P1 for the meantime.
Yeah, George Ansell is really...
Fast delivery. Epic entertainment. It's on Prime for $8.99 a month.
Mobile plans you can switch up and down willy-nilly. Are you on gift gaff or something?
Restricting her from going online is abuse. Enough.
Every drive, after his little issue on the tyres of his own, he is now looking very racy once again.
Yeah, the gap is constantly closing all the time here, but it's difficult to make a move work unless you're going into turn one. We've seen it time and time again. Turn one is the king of overtaking here, really, and it's just going to be single file until then, but we're back on with George Ansell, 2/10 this time, much better opportunity. Tom Roberts trying to take the inside line as they're going straight through to turn one, side by side. Can George Ansell make it work around the outside? They're going side by side, wheel by wheel, maybe a bit of contact there. They're still going through into turn one. Tom Roberts just edging out, but George Ansell trying to stick around the inside. They're still side by side, 3 corners later. Tom Roberts taking it through the outside, but they're not done yet. They're still right behind each other, but the overtake has gone away.
George Ansell has used up a load of his ERS there. Very much empty on the tanks. He's going to try and recover as much as he can for the remaining of this lap, but Tom Roberts also used everything in that defense. Otherwise, that would have been a done and dusted move of how close they were, and we are already back towards that stadium section once again, and they are still derating down this back straight, trying to recover as much energy as they can as we round one more time for the lap 15 again. In George Ansell a little bit outsy and a little bit further adrift this time around. He really wants to give it a go. He has deployed the ERS again, all the way to the sidewall with an early defensive move. Again, Tom Roberts has understood the assignment. Guard the inside line, and they are side by side, tires neck and neck again, but George Ansell does get the wing ahead, and this time he is able to slice his way and dice his way in front of Tom Roberts with an impeccable move in the banking to make it stick.
What great racing we've seen between these two drivers. George Ansell making the move work around the outside. Tom Roberts trying to take the inside line again and again, but just because he's behind now, don't count him out as we go to Esports 2, trying to make a move work on William White. Round into turn 3, the opportunity has gone awry.
Yeah, William White now making that progress back into P number 5 as we see CLG bring out a 5-second gap over Logan Edwards, which I don't remember if sufficient or enough to make up that penalty. I can't remember if it's a multiple track violations or a pit lane violations. Either way, good performance from the both of them at the moment in this race. Yeah. But still, down to Tom Roberts once again, trying to instantly get back on the offensive. No ERS, DRS in the assistance of George Ansell, which will make it easy as Tom Roberts makes it to the inside line. And it just looks so much effortless once you get that chance on the inside line rather than the outside.
Yeah, DRS has been the pain point for both of these drivers whenever they're in the lead. If the driver behind has DRS and you don't, it's almost a done deal on the straight, but I'm really happy we're getting this good racing from the both of them. as we're in the penultimate lap now. Whoever leads after this lap has to have the advantage going into lap 18.
Yeah, it's going to be this lap, or you will have to make the overtake most likely here in sector number 3. It is very much an unlikely affair in sector 2 to sector 3 to make an overtake, but if you don't have the lead on that final lap, you will be in a huge detriment. But right now, George Ansell is right on the back of Tom Roberts, and Tom Roberts wasn't close enough to that traffic to get the DRS, so he will have that DRS assistance, but it is one of the largest gaps we have seen in a while for Tom Roberts to have on that defensive maneuver, and you can see what that difference does make when you have that 6th gap, 10th gap compared to a 4/10 gap, as Tom Roberts is starting to pull away. But Esports 2, on the other hand, is trying to still charge down William White further down in the grid as they are now winding through into sector number 3. Esports 2 will have a DRS assistance, but he is too far adrift to really put any kind of pressure onto William White, who has had a much better traction zone as well, which means he will have a lot to do in this final lap to make anything work. But it's really all eyes on the front two. Tom Roberts and George Ansell on this final lap, battling it out all the way through.
Yeah, they've been neck and neck the entire time, but the gap now is getting even bigger than it has been on previous times around this circuit. Maybe George Ansell used a bit too much of his tyres, but I wouldn't count him out just yet. 5/10 the gap going into our final corner. DRS activated. Is there enough time to snatch the lead? Closer, 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 but not quite. Tom Roberts takes P1, George Ansell in P2, CLG rounding the final couple corners, looking to come in P3, I believe, has the fastest lap of the race as well on the soft tyres.
You do see Tom Roberts helped with a 1.5 gap, but we turn our eyes to Logan Edwards to finish out in P number 4, but George Ansell will be eking and sad that the start-finish line is just a few meters further down that straight. If it was just into the braking zone instead, he easily would have had the fastest lap, the first position here. That's how tight and tuck it was between our top two today. As Bob KitKat, one final time, makes a move into P11 against Adam for P11, just shy of the qualifying P number 10 that was taken by Ananona at the back end of the grid. And you do see XDE Washed make a successful recovery drive to an extent back into P7.
It's not the result he would have wanted coming into this race, but a great recovery drive nonetheless, as we see our winner today, Tom Roberts. What a drive he put on for us.
Yeah, both of these drivers then both putting up a show. Both deserve the flowers as much as each other, but in the end, the one who will get to spray the champagne and lift the big trophy is Tom Roberts, who sits atop of the podium due to his final lap efforts, and I think critically, his ERS management was just that little bit better.
The defense from Tom Roberts onto George Ansell earlier in the race, I think, played a lot of play here. George Ansell having to use all of his tyres to make that first move, but that is the race. What a race it was, and we're looking to come back after this break.